Yo, what is going on, everybody? This is RBT, and today we have a very special video where you guys are going to decide which team I will begin my first Madden 18 Connected Franchise Series with. In today's video, I'm going to give you the 4 options of which teams I want you guys to vote on, and I'll tell you why I want each team or why I would like to use each team. I'm going to go through each roster of each team because this is the most updated rosters, as accurate as it's going to be in Madden 18. And you guys will be able to decide which team you want to see at the beginning of Madden 18 from me. So with that said, hopefully you guys are excited for Madden 18 and my first Madden 18 Connected Franchise Series. And if you are, let's see if we can smash 1,500 likes. That would be absolutely incredible. Now, I will leave a straw poll with the 4 teams that you will have a chance to vote for in the description box below. Now, make sure you watch the video though, because I want you to get my reasoning behind why I want to use each and every team and why they are an option. You'll be able to see the rosters as well, as accurate as they will be compared to the Madden 18 rosters. You'll be able to see which team would be the most fun rebuilding in a connected franchise. I'm going to leave the straw poll live for you guys to vote all the way up until Madden 18's release and whenever I do start the connected franchise. So you'll have a long time to vote. Make sure you watch the video and pay close attention to all the rosters and my reasoning behind each and every team. Now, with that said, let's go ahead and give you option number 1. And option number 1 is going to be none other than the New York Jets. The Jets are a team that has been around since the NFL's inception, but they have not made the Super Bowl and won the Super Bowl in 48 years since Super Bowl III. That's a long freaking time. So we'd have a chance to bring New York their first Super Bowl, or the Jets rather, their first Super Bowl since, I believe it was like 1963 or something, maybe I'm wrong, but it's been a long freaking time. And they haven't actually made just the playoffs since 2010, so 7 years of a playoff drought that we'd be able to bring back to New York. And another reason they are an option is because their team is absolutely pathetic according to these rosters, because it's going to be an absolute freaking miracle if we could rebuild this roster into a Super Bowl champion in a Madden 18 Connected franchise. At quarterback, not looking too good, with Josh McCown, Christian Hackenberg, and Bryce Petty. So we might need to get a new quarterback in this Connected franchise. Now, we do have a better running back in Matt Forte, some decent running backs here in Bilal Powell, and it could do a lot better, so we could potentially use a better running back. Now, fullback, this guy, 52 overall, not necessarily your ideal fullback, but that's even if we use a fullback. Now, wide receiver is pretty pathetic as well, so we need to add like 3 or 4 or 17 wide receivers because this looks pretty bad. It's going to be a lot of young receivers in this team that would have to develop, and hopefully we could bring in some other guys as well. Now, the tight end position is pathetic, dude. Like, have you ever seen tight ends this bad? Like, that's pretty freaking bad. So we definitely need 1 or 2 tight ends. The offensive line looks pretty bad as well. Like, this team is honestly one of the worst teams I've seen in a long freaking time. Now, like I said, these rosters aren't going to be completely accurate compared to the Madden 18 rosters, but they're going to be as close as you're going to get currently, so that's why I'm using these. Now, the defense, though, is pretty good, but the offense is going to need a complete rebuild. Got some pretty good defensive ends with Muhammad Wilkerson and Leonard Williams. Defensive tackle, probably need a better defensive tackle. Now, the linebackers are pretty crap as well, so I don't know why I said our defense was good, because the linebackers are pretty crap. Sheldon Richardson, he is listed as an outside linebacker. I don't necessarily know what he played with the Jets this past season, but we definitely need to, we might would have to put him at like defensive tackle because he's 71 speed, so we need like a whole new linebacker core. The cornerbacks are pretty crap as well. Safeties pretty crap as well, though we do have the young beast who they just drafted, Jamal Adams, who's probably going to be the best player in the secondary starting off a connected franchise. So, a couple reasons I want to bring back the Super Bowl to New York, and also it would probably take the biggest rebuild ever to bring this team to what they currently are, to a Super Bowl champion. So if you think the Jets would be the best connected franchise to start off Madden 18, let me know in the straw poll below. Now, option number 2 is a team that has never won the Super Bowl. They've been close, but have never won the Super Bowl, and that is going to be, once I get there, the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, on the flip side of the Jets. The Eagles roster is pretty good, so it wouldn't take as big of a rebuild to make this team Super Bowl champions. So you'd be able to see a better team than the Jets. We still have some positions that we could potentially rebuild, but we'd have a better shot to win the Super Bowl early on in the connected franchise. Now, like I said, the thing that intrigues me is it's a pretty good team, which means we would have a lot of players that we could trade away to bring in better players at positions that you guys want, or players that you guys want, which we might not be able to do with the Jets because, I mean, if you look at the roster, the only thing we could potentially trade away is like draft picks, because that team doesn't have players you could trade away for potential deals because they're that bad. But the Eagles, like I said, do have players that we could trade away and bring in players that you guys want to the team for a connected franchise series. They have not made the Super Bowl since 2004, which they lost against the New England Patriots. So it's been a while since they've made the Super Bowl, and they've never actually won it. So we could potentially bring the first ever Super Bowl championship to Philadelphia. Now we have a very young, really good quarterback in Carson Wentz, who could develop throughout the connected franchise, and it's always debatable between you guys whether you want me to bring in a quarterback or keep a young quarterback, so that would be up to you guys. If we do use the Eagles, we have some talented running backs, some good depth there. LeGarrette Blount, Ryan Matthews, and Darren Sproles would need to bring in a star, but at least we have some good depth. We have a ton of running backs that we probably would end up like having to trade away, but I mean, at least we have some depth. Now, fullback, we don't have a fullback. Wide receivers, we have some good wide receivers. Alshon Jeffrey is in Philadelphia for at least 1 year on a 1-year contract, and Jordan Matthews, still pretty young and a very reliable wide receiver, and some young guys, Dorial Green-Beckham, it's a Titans fan, still don't know how I feel about this, but he's here, and some young guys backing them up. So the wide receiver core is pretty good, but not perfect, so we could upgrade there. Tight end is decent with guys like Zach Ertz, Trey Burton, and Brent Selleck, but still kind of lacking a superstar tight end that we could bring in. Now, the offensive line for the Philadelphia Eagles is not all that bad. Like, looking at this, we'd probably only need to bring in a center, because you guys don't necessarily think it's very fun to watch me rebuild the offensive line, so you wouldn't really have to watch that in this connected franchise. Now moving on to defense, which is pretty freaking good as well, especially the defensive ends Brandon Graham and Derek Barnett, who is a rookie who's going to be an absolute beast. And then you have Fletcher Cox, who's one of the best tackles in the league, and backing him up is Timmy Jernigan, who's a young guy. When I run 3-4s, this is a guy I could potentially trade away for a very good player, but you guys are probably not want me to trade him away. Now to the linebacker core, got very athletic guys like Nigel Bradham. In the middle, you have Jordan Hicks. We probably need a better second middle linebacker, right outside linebacker. But it's a really speedy linebacker core, which is fun for a guy like me to use. So we could upgrade some linebackers, but if we don't, I mean, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world because they're fun to use because they're fast. Now moving on to the secondary. This is where the team would need the biggest rebuild, especially at the cornerback position, because looking at these guys, I wouldn't necessarily feel confident with Patrick Robertson being my best cornerback. Now, safety's pretty good. A veteran in Malcolm Jenkins, and at strong safety, we have Rodney McLeod Jr., who we could potentially, bring in a better strong safety than Rodney McLeod Jr. And then a kicker and punter, who cares? Although it is Caleb Sturgis, who's a pretty freaking good kicker. So that is the Philadelphia Eagles for option number 2. And if you think they are the best option for a Madden 18 connected franchise, let me know by voting for them in the straw poll below. Now time for option number 3. This is a team that has won a couple Super Bowls, but it's been a long freaking time. 43 years to be exact since they have won the Super Bowl, and that is going to be the Miami Dolphins. So we'd be bringing back the glory days of the Dolphins if we were to make them our Madden 18 connected franchise team. Well, that's hopefully anyway. I mean, it's me playing the game, so we probably would never win the Super Bowl, but at least we'd attempt it. Now, the Dolphins are another team that has a decent amount of talent already on the roster, unlike the Jets. The Jets are the team in this, out of these 4 options, that we just have to rebuild every single position because they're freaking trash. Now the Dolphins, like I said, do have talent, but like the Eagles have positions that they do need to rebuild. Now at quarterback, it'd probably be controversial. Rather, you guys want me to get a better quarterback than Ryan Tannehill and just trade him away, or maybe keep Tannehill and use him in the connected franchise, and hopefully he could get better throughout this series. Now at running back, we have a very young beast in Jay Ajayi, who we have in my current connected franchise series, who's an absolute beast. He's going to develop, so we might not need a better starter, but could potentially bring in a better backup running back. And also got the youngster Kenyon Drake, who I think will end up being okay in the NFL. Now moving on to the wide receiver position, do have some pretty good wide receivers in Jarvis Landry and Kenny Stills and Devontae Parker, but behind them, there's really nobody. So I would probably rather want a better number 2 or maybe a better number 1 receiver in this team if we could potentially do so. Now looking at the tight end position, they did bring in Julius Thomas and they have Anthony Fasano backing him up. So the tight end position isn't a number 1 position of need, but you know, if it needs be, we could bring in a superstar tight end. Now to look at the offensive line, they have the absolute young superstar Laramie Tunsil anchoring the left tackle position, so he's probably developed throughout the series, so we probably don't need a better left tackle. Now at guard, Anthony Steen, as an Alabama fan, I like this guy, but we need a better left guard. Now at center, we have the veteran Mike Pouncey, who, I mean, he's an 80 overall. We'll have to see how he is in Madden 18, but we could upgrade at the center position. Right guard, Jermon Bushrod, and at right tackle, we have Jawan James. So I think our left and right tackle positions should be solidified since we have young guys here that can develop, but the interior could potentially be upgraded. Now moving on to defense, and like the rest of these teams, the defensive line seems like the strength of their defense. They have the veteran Cameron Wake, who's a beast. At right end, William Hayes, who's okay, so maybe we could upgrade him here, but not the number 1 position of need. We have a good backup too in Charles Harris, who's going to be a rookie. Now defensive tackle, Ndamukong Suh, I mean, he might step on some people, but he's pretty good, so I don't think we need a better defensive tackle. Now the linebacker position, we have Koa Misi, middle linebacker Lawrence Thomas, and Kiko Alonso, and at right outside linebacker, Raekwon McMillan, who is a rookie, so a young guy there, but I'm not really liking this middle linebacker or the whole entire linebacker core, to be completely honest. Aside from it'd be fun to use Raekwon McMillan since he is a young guy, but I probably want to upgrade the 2 outside linebacker, or the 2 linebacker positions rather, aside from Raekwon McMillan. Now moving on to the secondary, we have a veteran guy here, Byron Maxwell, but backing him up is some trash. So like the other teams, we pretty much need to completely rebuild the cornerback position. Now, free safety, we have one of the best free safeties in the league in Rashad Jones, so that's okay there. And at strong safety, you have a pretty good strong safety here in T.J. McDonald. So it's pretty much in the secondary. We just need to upgrade the cornerback position and then 2 of the linebacker positions. So that is the Miami Dolphins. If you guys think they are the best option for my Madden 18 Connected Franchise Series, go vote for them in the straw poll below. Now moving on to our 4th and final option, we're going to another team who has never won the Super Bowl and actually hasn't appeared in the Super Bowl in 40 years. They made the playoffs recently, but they can't make it to the Super Bowl. They can't win the Super Bowl because they've never done so. But that would change with me using them, and that is going to be none other than the Minnesota Vikings. This team, I feel like, would be extremely fun to use. Now, if you guys have been following the channel for a long time, Teddy Bridgewater is one of my favorite quarterbacks. Has been ever since he played at Louisville. So I'm hoping somehow, some way, pray to God, he can come back healthy this season. But doesn't necessarily look like it's going to happen. So we'd have to see what would happen there. Maybe upgrade at this position. Maybe trade away Sam Bradford. Or if somehow he ends up playing this season, which I haven't even seen updates lately. He probably isn't. But if he did, I would love to start him at quarterback. Now, moving on to running back, we have a youngster here in Dalvin Cook who just got drafted by the Vikings, so this would be fun and maybe a reason you guys want to see the Vikings. I mean, he would be taking over for Adrian Peterson, which is a pretty big void to fill in for, but I think it'd still be fun to play with him. To have some pretty good running backs backing him up with Latavius Murray and Jerick McKinnon. Now, fullback, we have Ham. Didn't go to college anywhere and is a rookie. Just freaking Ham. Now, moving on to the wide receiver position, got a couple young guys, but we'll definitely need to add in 1 or maybe 2 good wide receivers to make this wide receiver core pretty deadly. Stephon Diggs, very good, but he's really the only kind of potential superstar in the team. Adam Thielen is pretty good as well, very good possession receiver, but I mean, is that really who you want as your number 2 receiver? And backing him up, there's really nobody. Laquan Treadwell was a pretty big disappointment, so we definitely need to add a couple wide receivers if we do choose the Minnesota Vikings. Now, tight end, we have a very good tight end in Kyle Rudolph, but would need a better number 2 option. Now, looking at the offensive line of the Minnesota Vikings, we have good guards, but aside from that, we need a new left tackle, right tackle, and center. So the offensive line, aside from the guards, probably need a complete rebuild. Now, moving on to the defense, like the other teams, some pretty good defensive ends in Danielle Hunter and Everson Griffin. So the defensive ends should be solidified for the series unless you guys think otherwise. Now, defensive tackle, pretty good guy there as well in Linval Joseph, one of the best defensive tackles in the league, but would need a better backup. Sharif Floyd ended up being, would you call him a bust? Probably a bust. I mean, he's a first-round draft pick, a high first-round draft pick, And according to Madden 18, he's a 74 overall. So we need some better depth here, although we probably could trade away like all these guys. These guys would probably all have a team interested in them, but that's just for future reference. Now moving on to the linebacker position, Anthony Barr will be going nowhere because we all know he's one of the best guys to actually use her at the linebacker position in Madden. So he would not be going anywhere, although he's only like 75 overall. Now middle linebacker Eric Kendricks is pretty good, but we definitely need a better number 2 middle linebacker because I always run 3-4. Right outside linebacker definitely would need an upgrade here. As right now, we only have Emmanuel Lemur. I can't even pronounce his name, so that shows you right there. We need a new right outside linebacker. Now moving on to the secondary. Cornerbacks, it's probably the best cornerback core that we would have starting off a connected franchise. But aside from the number 2 guys and maybe Trey Waynes, it's pretty crap. Mackenzie Alexander wasn't good his rookie season, and then behind him it's just nobody. So we at least need to add 1 corner. Now at free safety, we have obviously one of the best free safeties in the league in Harrison Smith. We also have a pretty good strong safety as well in Andrew Senheo, and we would potentially upgrade that position, but it's all up to you guys. So the Minnesota Vikings are going to be the final option out of this video for my first connected franchise series in Madden 18, and make sure you go vote in the straw poll in the description box below. So what team am I going to be using for my first ever Madden 18 connected franchise series? Make sure you take a part in the voting. Like I've already said, there will be a straw poll with all 4 teams as an option in the description box below. And go vote, and like I said, the voting will be open until I start the connected franchise series, which will be, what's today, the 11th? About a month and a half. So you have about a month and a half to vote. Go decide. Make sure you take into consideration everything I said in this video and decide for yourself what you think would make for the best series in Madden 18. So hopefully you guys did enjoy today's video, and hopefully at least you find one of the options attractive. And if you don't, I'm sorry. Those are 4 teams that I looked at and immediately thought they would make good series for. So that's kind of what I did going into the selection process, finding 4 teams. So like, what team would make the most exciting series for you guys to watch? So that's why I picked those 4 teams. If you don't like them, I'm sorry. But hopefully you guys did enjoy the video regardless. And if you are excited for the Madden 18 Connected Franchise Series, let me know by dropping a like. If we get 1,500 likes, that would be absolutely incredible. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I will catch you guys next time. Have a great rest of your day. Peace.